Alright, so we're going to start with finding the surface area of a triangular prism. And luckily it's already laid out as a net for us, so that makes life a little bit easier. A net is when pretty much a three-dimensional shape has been flattened and all the sides are laid out so you can see what each side is. This is really nice because it makes life much easier. So you can see here that you've got all of your faces. Alright, this is our base right here. Alright, and it's a square, and I can tell that because I know this side right here is 6 feet, and they've told me down here that this side's 6 feet, which would mean that this side is also 6 feet. So I'm going to put a 6 right here just so that I can remember. Okay? And surface area is all about finding the area of every single side and then adding them all up. So I'm going to start with what I just found, which would be this square right here. And I know the formula for area of a square is length times width, or side squared, however you want to word it. So if I do this side times this side, I know that has to be 36. So I'm going to put 36, and I'm going to circle it so that I know that I've finished with that shape. Alright, and a lot of times what's nice with these figures is that once you find the area of one side, you've got the other side because it's a match. It's congruent. So if I go to this rectangle right here, I can clearly see that this side right here is 6. They made that easy for me. But now what a lot of students have trouble with is finding the length of this side right here. But remember, this shape used to be a solid, it used to be three-dimensional. They've just flattened it all out. So imagine if you were to raise this side back up so that this is like the back of your shape. Well, this side right here is going to be matched up with this side. So then therefore that tells me that this side right here is also going to be 8 feet. Okay, so now if I find the area of this rectangle right here on the bottom, I know that it would have to be 8 times 6 because it's length times width. So that would tell me that this right here is 48. Okay, so this picture did a good job of showing it. At least it's easy for me to see since I'm right here with it. It might be a little harder on the video, but I can tell that this rectangle down here is a little bit smaller than this one up here. Because you have to be careful because a lot of students might assume that this one right here is the same size as this one, but it's not. So let's figure out this one. So once again, this shape down here is a square. So I know that this side right here has to be 6. Okay, so now I just need to know this side. Well, it's not going to be 8 again because this side, remember, matched up with this side. So now I got to figure out, okay, well, when I fold this shape back up, what side is going to match up with this one right here? All right, so this is kind of like, imagine it as a ramp. So if you fold this side right here back up, it's going to be like a ramp, which would mean that this side matches up with this side right here. And I need to know that because this is going to be 10, not 8. So now that when I find the area of this rectangle, because remember, surface area is all about finding the area of every single side. So I would do 6 times 10, which would give me 60. All right, now all I have left are my triangles. And luckily, these two triangles are congruent. So once I find one, I've got the other one as well. One thing you have to be careful of when you're doing triangles is usually they're going to give you all 3 side lengths. But with triangles, you don't need all 3 of them. You only need 2. So there's just a couple of things I always tell my students to help them remember the sides that they need. First of all, I tell them to find the chair. And what I mean by that is this right angle right here. We know that's a right angle because of the box in the corner, but I like to tell my students to think of it as a chair. You kind of look at it like that. It looks like a chair. I tell them to find their chair because that chair is always going to be touching the 2 sides that they need. Okay, so if you think about it, this chair right here, this chair is touching the 8 and it's touching the 6. It has nothing to do with this 10 over here, which tells me that I don't need that 10. I don't need that 10 when I'm finding the area of my triangle. Another thing I tell them is that you don't ever need a slanted side when you're finding the area in 6th grade. Later on, you're going to use that slanted side, but we do not need it right now in 6th grade. So once again, that's another reason that I don't need this 10 right here. So when I'm finding the area of this triangle, I need the 6 and I need the 8 because they're touching my chair. It's my base and my height. All right, so remember 2 ways to do area of a triangle. You can do base times height divided by 2, or you can do 1/2 base times height. I always do base times height divided by 2. So if I do the base, which is 8, times the height, which is 6, so 8 times 6 is 48. and then it's a triangle, so you have to divide by 2. So 48 divided by 2 would give you 24, which means also this one over here is 24. Okay? And the reason I circle in my numbers is so that I can clearly tell when that shape is finished, because it's important that you do every single shape in your surface area figure. So now that I see that every shape has a circled number in it, the last step is to take those numbers and just add up the length, or add up the areas of all those shapes. And this could easily be a calculator inactive or active question, so we're just going to do it by hand real quick. So that's 10, that's 12, so that would be 22. That's 10, that's 5, and this is 19. So I know that the surface area of my right triangular prism is 192 feet squared. Okay, so let's do one more. All right, and this one is not going to be a net, just so that you have an example of this kind as well. So this one's not a net. This one's still a three-dimensional figure, but it is a nice one because a lot of the sides are the same, so that makes life easy. Okay, so once again, I'm going to start with the base, so what the shape is sitting on, and I can see that this is a rectangle. It's a 6x4 rectangle. All right, so remember, you're finding the area of every single side. So I'm going to do 6 times 4, which gives me 24. Now, when I do it this way, when it's not a net, I do my numbers off to the side. That way I can keep up with which ones I've done. So 6 times 4 is 24. But remember, it's got a top and a bottom. All right, so this is going to have a match. Okay, so all I did was 6 times 4 to get my 24. Okay, now I'm going to do this rectangle right here in the front. See it right here? All right, so I can see that this rectangle is a 6 on the bottom and a 13 on the side. Okay, that's not a common multiplication table, so let's just make sure we do it right. So 13 times 6, 6 times 3 is 18. Carry your 1, and that would give you 78. So this area is 78 of this front rectangle. Now remember, everything's congruent, symmetrical, so if this front side is 78, that tells me that the back side is also 78. Okay, so I've done the top, the bottom, both of those were 24. I've done the front and the back, both of those were 78. So now I need to do my sides. So this 4 over here, that's my length or width, whichever one. And now I need to do this right here, which I can tell if this side's 13, that means that this side has to be 13. So I know that I'm doing 4 times 13. So once again, we'll just do the math real quick. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry the 1, 52. Okay, so let's just recap what I just did real quick. Found the area, because remember, surface area is all about finding the area of every single side and then adding them up. So I found the area of my base, 6 times 4. That gave me these two 24s. Now the reason I have 2 of them is because remember, you have a top and a bottom. They match. Okay, then I came over here to my front rectangle, this big one right here in the front. Okay, and once again, it's length times width. So I did 13 times 6, and I got 78. Now remember, there's a match. There's a front and a back, so that's why we have two 78s. Okay, then I moved on to the side. I did 4 times 13, get this 52, and remember, there's 2 of them because there's a left side and a right side. They match up. Now you have to be careful, because what if you thought that all the sides were the same? Then you would have had 4 78s listed, but it's important that you see that not all the sides are the same, and they showed you that by showing that the base is different numbers. Okay, so just be careful that you can clearly see that your sides are not the same. So the last step is to always just add them up. So that's 8, that's 16, that's 24, that's 26, 28, 2, 4, 6, that's 14, so 14 plus 6 is 20, and then that's 10, so this is 30. So 308 is my answer.